Hello, and welcome back to the channel. The Deputy President of Kenya, William Somei Ruto, has been blocked from coming to Uganda to visit the dictator Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Now, Ruto has been making a number of visits to Uganda and have been covering these visits on this particular channel. You can look through the videos and see. Now, the things are now becoming, or they are escalating. So today on the breakdown, we are going to look at, or we are going to break down Ruto's visits again to Uganda and what this block or the blocking of William Ruto, what it actually means. Now this is coming right up. So now what we see in Kenya is that this guy has once again been blocked. I've told people once and again here on this particular channel that I have personally come to understand that William Ruto is not a clean person, especially when it comes to regional matters or matters of East Africa. He is another Museveni in the making. Let me tell you one thing. If you're flying with people like Museveni when you're not yet into power, I think that is Ruto's biggest mistake. And the fact that Ruto has been traveling to Uganda, telling the people of Uganda, imagine a deputy president of Kenya telling the people of Uganda to vote for Museveni. He did this in the 2016 campaign, talking about non-interference and the issue of sovereignty. How can a person like Ruto move from his country and come to Uganda and tell Ugandans whom we should vote? Recently, they launched the William Ruto School of Leadership, whatever, in Makerere, a scam or a sham in Makerere, at Makerere University, one of the oldest and one of the best universities in East Africa. The institution of Makerere is now dead because there is no accomplishments that we can see regional-wise that William Ruto has accomplished to have a library named after him. You should also understand that there was a library that was supposed to be constructed in that same very spot, in that same plot of land that had been given to a former alumni known as, and the former president of Kenya, known as Mwai Kibaki. Now, William Ruto took over that land, and up to now, nothing, not even the foundation has been dug. But what we see in this particular instance is, I'm going to come to that point, but this is the issue. Recently, I think last month, he came to meet Museveni once again, and they launched another sham industry, whereby they are going to be they're going to be constructing or manufacturing vaccines and all this kind of stuff, which is really funny. And I've been monitoring this guy's movements. And afterwards, they went and met Museveni. He went and met Museveni and engaged in a private talk, of which this private talk leaked to different media houses. Now, in the private talk and the things that leaked, I've covered them somewhere in the videos here. We saw that Ruto was pleading to Museveni to talk to Uhuru Kenyatta. And we have also seen that Ruto is trying to cozy up with Museveni in order to get other East African leaders in line in order to support him. Now, the thing is becoming very, very complicated as we speak today, because the only ally for Ruto in the entire region is and only is Museveni, of which Museveni is actually using him as a pawn. Now, what this means for Kenyans is really going to be very interesting, because if, for example, for argument's sake, Ruto wins the presidency, he will owe his win to Museveni, because it is only Museveni that has stood with Ruto, number one. And now, Museveni is not a guy who is in good records when it comes to East Africa. Every country that he has intervened, every country that he has touched, every country that he has been a part of, it has all ended up in ruins. Look at a country like, South Sudan. He has been interrupting South Sudan for a long time. Look at a country like Rwanda. Look at a country like Burundi. Look at a country like Congo. This guy, wherever he puts his fingers and whenever he has a hand in a particular country, things are going to go haywire. Now, according to the Standard, this is a Kenyan newspaper, they said that DP Ruto blocked from traveling to Uganda. Deputy President William Ruto was on Monday evening blocked at the airport from traveling to Uganda. DP's Communications Secretary David Mugonyi said Ruto and his team had traveled at Wilson Airport ready for the trip, but were advised to seek clearance from the head of the Public Service and the Secretary of the Cabinet, Joseph Kunia. When he got to the airport, he was asked to seek clearance from Kinyua. We are surprised. This has never happened in the last 9 years, he said. Isoraiti, tuwachie Mungu. Ruto retreated after retreating to his current home. Former Senator Majority Leader Kip Chumba Makomen linked Ruto's woes to the recent Kiamba by-election in which Jubilee candidate lost to the United Democratic Alliance UDA. Makomen claimed President Uhuru Kenyatta was pushing his deputy because of the recent by-election loss. President has blocked the DP from performing his official duties, and now he's blocking him from his private engagements. This is ridiculous. Show of deep sense of insecurity and tactlessness, he tweeted on Monday evening. Now, Kapsalet MP Oscar Sudi, while confirming that he was part of the trip, said they were blocked for 5 hours at the Wilson Airport until the DP became impatient and went home. Our flight was scheduled for midday, but the so-called deep state failed to clear the DP for the trip. Sudi wrote on his social media pages, adding that the MPs who were to accompany the DP had been cleared by the National Assembly by Speaker Justin Muturi. Now, they speak about the travel procedures and all that kind of stuff. And they talk about he had recently traveled to Uganda and Zanzibar using the Phoenix services, and then last month he was the chief guest at the official opening and foundation stone of the vaccine manufacturing facility. I don't know, maybe he's bringing some vaccines. I don't know if at all he has done something. I don't know if they have done anything about the factory that they laid the foundation to. Now, I won't speak into more of the Kenyan politics, but I will speak about the things that I understand most, and that would be perhaps on the Ugandan side of things, and also look at the regional politics and where this leaves Uganda, where this leaves Kenya, and where also this leaves Ruto, as well as Museveni and the entire East African region. Now, first things first. Ruto, in terms of regional politics, is really bad. He's not a person who is popular in regional politics. It is because that he has really performed so badly, especially causing up with dictators like Museveni. Museveni is someone who has just killed 60 people last year in November. You cannot come out and tell Ugandans that, okay, you guys really elected someone very good and you guys are really good, and making it open and public and telling Ugandans, oh, this Museveni is the best, he should become the leader of East African president. You get it? You can't do that, because that means that you're losing support in Uganda, and that's why you see Ruto is very unpopular in Uganda. No one likes him, and no one even knows him. Now, we know, or we do understand, that Ruto has no allies in the entire East African region. The only person that is vulnerable in the region today that he is banking on, and trust me, if Museveni if he had not forced himself on the people of Uganda today, for the time being, if he's out today or tomorrow, Ruto's ambitions are done. What does Ruto need from Museveni? We know a few things. Number one, money. Ruto does not have money to finance his campaigns. A Kenyan presidential election is one of the most expensive in the region. It's really expensive to run a Kenyan presidential election, right? And Ruto doesn't have that money. But we also understand that Ruto and Museveni have been into business dealings, both within Kenya, Uganda, as well as the Congo, whereby Ruto is the one handling Museveni's businesses in Kenya and all this kind of stuff. We are much aware of that. And he's also working with him in Zaire, Congo, on that particular issue. We should also understand that Museveni has a very, very big hand in Ruto's presidency. This is how Museveni has always operated. He has all of a sudden now penetrated Kenyan politics. And he has his own agent known as William Ruto. Now, we can understand on diplomatic grounds, the level of coziness and the level of interactions between Ruto and Museveni, but this has gone way, way beyond to actually make it even public. Because Museveni knows very well that if he's out of power or if he's kicked out of power, trying to secure his loot as well as his theft, he needs a few presidents in the region that can back him up. You see, like, whenever he's things that, because this is what is happening in Uganda. For 35 years, this guy has been in power, now 36, and forcing himself on the people of Uganda who don't even like him. So he needs people to back him up, regionally, internationally, as well as continental-wise. Now, in the region, we see, if someone might believe, is at loggerheads with Kagame. And the level of relations between Uganda and Tanzania, they are that good, they are not that solid. That is why you see Samia Suluhu is not putting her eggs in one basket, concentrating on the East African Federation or the East African Community, but going even into the South African Development Agency Corporation, also known as SADC. Because Tanzania is the only country in the ESC that is split between ESC as well as SADC. But now, we see that the only country that is with Museveni 100% is Burundi. Is Burundi, where we have this gentleman known as, I've forgotten his name, the one who succeeded in Nkurunziza. He's the only one with Museveni in the region. Museveni has no allies. Now, we see that Uhuru Kenyatta has been also making visits to Kagame. And, recently they visited each other and all this kind of stuff. And you will see that there is quite some relations between Kenya and Rwanda, which of course annoys Museveni. And it's quite interesting. And we also understand that Museveni is trying to build a road around Rwanda so that he can get to Burundi. Now, Uganda needs Kenya as much as possible, because Kenya is our biggest trading partner, number one. Number two, Kenya is our best route to have access to the sea. That is in terms of international trade and all this kind of stuff. Of course, Kenya also being the biggest economy in the region. I'm even surprised that this gentleman can come and start begging Museveni to help him. And yet, Kenya is the one that has all the power. Museveni should have been the one. That is why I say that Ruto is more of a Museveni pawn, that Museveni is playing against Uhuru as well as playing against Raila Odinga. Because he understands very well. He's throwing jelly on the wall to see what sticks. He's throwing as much stuff on the wall to see what sticks. And amongst the stuff that he's throwing is Ruto. Because now it is becoming rampantly open that if a deputy president of Kenya, that is really so ashaming. I don't know who really plans for Ruto, but I wouldn't have done that. Of all countries you're coming to visit a dictatorship, I just block you. It is just like saying that, the deputy president of Kenya has been blocked from going to visit North Korea. They're even just saving your reputation and they're even just saving your face. Why did Uhuru Kenyatta even block this guy? Should have let him come. Because it is really very detrimental to him. He's causing up with people who are murderers. You get it? But I also understand why he had to be blocked. At times you have to save these people from self-destruction. Seriously, Museveni has killed 60 people last year. And then for all countries in the world, that it is now big news anyway, it is in Kenya, but in Uganda, not so much big news. It's just actually me talking about it. That a scam known as because William Ruto, I don't know in Kenya how he is perceived, but in Uganda, we look at him as a scam, stealing taxpayers' money through Museveni and laundering money for his campaigns. Recently, the foundation stone that Museveni laid, where this gentleman was, this scammer, East African scammer, I don't know in Kenya he might be whatever he is, but in East Africa he's a scammer. That scammer came with Museveni. They went to launch a vaccine facility. A day later, the Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija, goes to the parliament asking for billions and billions of shillings to help build a so-called vaccine facility. Now tell me, if this is not money laundering, what is it? Because we also remember when this same scammer came and stole our land at Makerere University, they named the so-called land after him, the William Ruto Institute of Leadership, Museveni's exact playbook. Giving dictators, giving autocrats, giving would-be autocrats and dictators legitimacy. That's the same thing he did with this gentleman of Zimbabwe. When he came to Uganda, he gave him one of the highest awards that Museveni created for his own. Like, he gave him his own award for being a very exemplary leader. But this gentleman is the one, Mnangagwa, he took part in the so-called Gukurahundi massacre under Mugabe and all this kind of stuff. Now we're also seeing the same Ruto guy. After he came to lay the foundation stone, Museveni contributed $500,000 US to the building of an institute. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where these two go back, how far back these two people go. But contributing all that kind of money to an institute that is non-existent, surely Ruto should be investigated for money laundering, both in Uganda and Kenya. I don't know what Ruto plans. The same president is campaigning openly. I don't know why this guy is so daft, especially in the region. How could you openly go out and start campaign? And you're thinking that Ugandans are stupid? Campaigning for a very unpopular individual in the entire region who has destabilized the entire region, right from Sudan, go up to Tanzania, now Mozambique and all these other places. And then you come and tell Ugandans, oh, this is the really perfect guy you should have. Can't you just keep your mouth shut? Can't you just sit your trousers down and eat your ugari and skuma wichi and nyama choma? You sit your trousers down. No one will be asking you. Uganda would not even be involved in Kenyan politics or whatever is happening. You know, I wouldn't be coming here to speak about Ruto. But this guy has become a menace. And now what we have confirmed, or what we are trying to confirm, is that, of course, Museveni is the one controlling this gentleman known as William Ruto. Because no one, surely no one who is serious in politics would be playing that particular card at this particular moment. Now, Ruto is really in deep trouble because, you see, Kenya's DP, this was in May 2021, Ruto snapped again as Tanzania's Samia Suluhu visits. You should also understand that Ruto works as Museveni's ears and as well as eyes in Kenya. Understanding, because Museveni's biggest worry is, now this is from a Ugandan perspective, or this is from Museveni's perspective, what I know or what I understand very well. Museveni really doesn't want anyone, he doesn't want Raila Odinga near power in Kenya, because he knows if Raila gets into power, Uganda and Kenya, things are not going to be good, number one. Number two, Museveni knows very well that if Raila gets into power, economically he might get crumbled. And he is aware that if Kenya does anything, like if Raila gets to power or whatever, Uhuru, these guys, if they get into power and, you know, whatever administration is in Nairobi and they are not at good terms with Museveni, he really cannot afford that because he's a wee bit sandwiched. You have Rwanda this side that is, you know, close to the border. Then also you have Kenya closing the border, or Kenya putting up stringent measures and Museveni's corrupt regime and all going after his businesses in Kenya and Nairobi and all these other places. It's really not good business for him. So he's aware that if Raila gets into power, Raila is going to be really tough on him, especially on how he has been treated in the past. So at each and every cost, now you are having the COVID-19, the economy is performing dismally and it's really bad. So you need an ally in Kenya. Now he's using two things. He's using Ruto as a chip to negotiate. If Raila gets into power, Museveni can use it. Okay, I will stop the support of Ruto, and that's why it's very funny to see Ruto causing up with Museveni, thinking that, oh, Museveni is on my side. Of course, we know he is using him as a negotiating chip for anyone who gets into office. Now, when Ruto gets into office, of course, Museveni will have struck a jackpot, but on the other hand, the East African community will lose out, because we shall see if that happens, we shall see the breakdown of relations between Nairobi as well as Kigali. Then we also see the breakdown of relations between Nairobi as well as Burundi and so on and so forth. What we shall see is mostly the government in Tanzania is most likely to to rely more on the South African Development Corporation, that is SADC, rather than relying on the East African Confederation, because it is becoming more of a mess. Southern Sudan is also trying to rebuild itself, but as you can see, things are also not good on their particular side. So, Ruto's visit was really saving him and so on and so forth. Now, we also understand in this year that Ruto was kept out of the meeting between Samia Suluhu as well as, the president. Samia Suluhu had made her visit to Kenya to discuss bilateral relations and all this kind of stuff. And then what happened was that Ruto was left out of that meeting. He really, really wanted so much to be part of the meeting to tell Museveni what they were discussing, because Museveni is using the pipeline as a chip to play the Tanzanians. Now, the problem with the pipeline is it is never coming, because the activists around the world have blocked the pipeline. The insurers are pulling out, the banks are pulling out, the funders are pulling out. And of course, we also understand that countries that are now relying on oil are now facing a very big challenge, because we are in the evening days of using oil as some sort of fuel to run our cars, to run machines and all this kind of stuff, with the sort of renewable energy movements that are going on all over the world. So Samia Suluhu is aware, and she's like, okay, fine. Whereas the pipeline deal has been signed, but it's not coming. It's almost a year now. We are now having the pandemic. I think I should work, or I should look at where I can get more leverage and what can really improve my image as, president of Tanzania, crafting her own image. But even the late John Pombe Magufuli was anti-Ruto, as well as he was anti-Museveni, but he was more pro of, I think, Raila Odinga. That's why you see that Magufuli never traveled so much to Uganda and all this kind of stuff. Of course, he never traveled so much outside and all this kind of stuff. But now we are seeing some sort of improved relations between Kenya and Tanzania. That is Samia Suluhu as well as Uhuru Kenyatta. And now they are going to build, I think, a liquefied gas pipeline from, is it, what do you call that port? Along the coast from Kenya and then to Dar es Salaam. And now that is most likely to kick off much quicker rather than the one from Uganda, that is in western part of Uganda, to Tanga Port. Now, where this leaves Ruto and all this kind of visits that he's making with Museveni and all this kind of stuff, let me tell you, at the end of the day, for me, from the look of things, I don't know how Kenyan politics works. I don't know what is on ground there, but I'm looking at it regionally. Regionally, I don't think so many people or so many... Ruto is really a very popular candidate, especially in the regional politics. Now, because look here, we are trying to fight dictatorships in the region. And then you, as a president of Kenya who is coming up, you're propping up one. You cannot be fighting dynasties in Kenya, and coming and portraying yourself as a Jua Kali in Kenya, and then you come and prop up or condone dictatorships in the region. That really doesn't work. Because in Kenya, Mr. Ruto takes himself as a Jua Kali, who is a hustler, coming from humble roots and all this kind of stuff. But then, when you look at him, that is Samia Suluhu today, visited Kagame, and of course this did make Museveni happy, that Samia Suluhu has been at Kagame's place. And now, Samia Suluhu has been to Kagame with the aircraft. Of course, Museveni also wanted to make some good news, because also Rwanda is also in a big play of all this politics between Tanzania as well as Kenya. On which sides will these two fall? Now, from the look of things, we see that Uhuru and Samia are kind of winning. They have more leverage. They can easily isolate. Now Kagame is coming into play there, and now Museveni only has this so-called the president of Burundi, but also I think in South Sudan the situation is, when it gets better, I don't know, because South Sudanese are also not that happy with Museveni. So guys, the so-called hustler of Kenya, this gentleman known as Ruto, he's really, because you cannot say, literally, you cannot say that I'm fighting the so-called the dynasties in Kenya, the Railas as well as the Uhurus, and then you're propping up, you're going to visit North Korea? Uganda is almost the North Korea, is almost the Bulgaria of East Africa, right? You cannot be condemning Uhuru Kenyatta for stopping you to travel to Uganda. Okay, if Uhuru Kenyatta had stopped this gentleman to go to America, I would understand. But if they are stopping you from going to a dictatorship, bro, I don't know why Kenyans, the people who are advising this guy, the people who are running his campaign, they are really, really not serious. Of all places, and you try to make this is typical Museveni playing these games. I see Museveni all over writing on this stunt. I see Museveni all over it. This is Museveni, no one else. Because if you are going to visit maybe Tanzania, that would be understandable because they have Samia Suluhu over there. She has just come in. But you're coming to visit a brutal guy who has just killed his own people to cozy up, and you have been visiting all the time. Ruto has to be saved from himself. I'm so sorry. This guy is a scammer. And we know these games that these people are playing. We are not stupid. Okay, guys, tell me what you think in the comments. But William Ruto, I think Uhuru is he helped you there. And he saved East Africa for another embarrassment where someone is talking a very big game in Kenya. But when it comes to East Africa, he is propping up dictators like Museveni who are killing their own people, stealing money, promoting nepotism, tribalism. In Uganda, you cannot be there blaming that gentleman, Uhuru, wherever, and whatever is in Kenya, you are murmuring about, and then you are visiting a dictator in Uganda who has like 99.9% of our family in government. They are the ones that take the contracts. They own everything. Really? Ruto, if that is what you wish for East Africa, you do not deserve to be the president of Kenya. I'm very sorry. So, brothers and sisters, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for being part of the show. Please endeavor to subscribe, like, comment, and follow our channel for more topics. Have a blessed day and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye. You can go through our catalog of videos that we have done about Ruto and see our analysis. You don't have to agree, but it gives you a picture of what is really happening between Ruto and Uganda. Bye-bye.